This is TWiT.
Apple contractors allegedly listening to 1,000 Siri recordings a day each. Now, they've let them all go, right? They're done. They fired them.
They've paused it, which means that they are now unemployed because they were contract workers.
Right. The Irish Examiner, I guess many of them were in Ireland, say that they were doing on average 2 a minute. And that means they're not really paying close attention to who you are or what you're saying. They're really trying to figure out if Siri understood the command and if Siri did the right thing.
And if it misfired, why it misfired.
Why it misfired. Of course, we remember.
I think that article talks about how much of the things that they're listening to are actual queries, and only a small percentage of them were accidental.
Yeah, The Guardian was the one that first reported this, and it's a few percentage points, but still.
It's much less shocking when you're reading it from that perspective. It doesn't seem quite as they're listening to people getting murdered or whatever.
Well, Apple said 1%. So if we give Apple 1%, that means that every contractor every day is hearing 10 misfires, right? If they're listening to 1,000 a day. So if that's 5 people making love, 3 people fighting, and 2 people going, "Hey, Shlomo."
No, I misfired that much just by saying seriously or just when my TV's watching. So it could just be me, Leo.
Did I mention this last week that our cat's name is Samantha? And I call her Sammy, and every time I say, "Hey, Sammy,"
you get a dollhouse.
You get a dollhouse. Anyway, Apple stopped it. I think we mentioned John Gruber's, really good piece in Daring Fireball, in which he said, look, Apple, if you're going to say privacy matters, you got to step up. We talked about that last week. So, I think it's important that Apple do this just as Amazon and Google do it, because it's going to make Siri better. And Siri needs to get
Apple
better.
might just stop. I know Google has basically said there's no way in hell we're stopping this. We'll disclose it better, but this is vital to the progression of the technology. But Apple, I worry that Apple will stop it and it will regress instead of just doing a better disclosure system. I'm hopeful they do a better disclosure system.
My big pet peeve with Siri is when I say, "Hey Siri, make an appointment for a haircut Saturday at 2," and it goes, "I found some answers on the web that will help you." I found this on the web. And that is
my pet peeve is that there's 9 servers that are fine and 1 server, I'm assuming, in Eddie Q's closet that has just never been updated, and I hit that server 3 times a day.
So apparently, this was spotted on Reddit. Apple now will get a little bit better at answering direct questions with direct answers rather than a list of web results. This isn't fixing its understanding of what you said, but it will help a little bit more. They're doing kind of what Google does with its knowledge graph. They're synthesizing information from Wikipedia and other sources to help it give you the answer you want.
Yeah, and I think that part of what Apple should be putting into Siri right now is to make sure that they are communicating to everybody how much work they put into it and all the technology that goes behind it, because I think one of the most dangerous things that can happen to a technology or a product that's still kind of developing is when it becomes sort of like the late night talk show host monologue joke, where there's everybody. Siri does have that reputation right now as the one that will always not misinterpret you or always send you to a web result. For every time that there's a head-to-head competition between the 3 major services, Siri comes in last, which means that even though it's improving all the time, and how it works this year is much better than it was last year, and nothing like how well it'll work next year, people will kind of not even trust it or not even try it because they're going to be anticipating that they're not going to have a pleasant experience with it. So I think that this is an area where if Apple were to publish lots of papers about how they make Siri do what it does, even online interview, make their engineers available for interviews about how much work they put into Siri, and also incidentally push the button that there's a reason whether they can 100% defend the statement or not, being able to say that, well, there's a reason why Google's assistant is so good because they don't make security and privacy a priority, whereas there are things we could do to make things easier for ourselves, but we don't want to compromise security, because they really have to make sure that they confront the idea that this is a good, viable voice assistant. It's not as good as the others right now, but that doesn't mean that it's no good.
So I actually want to correct myself, because as I'm rereading this article, the headline in 9 to 5 Mac says Apple testing smarter Siri web answers. So for Spotlight search queries. So when I went, this is the Reddit post. If you do this, type this into Spotlight, you'll get, in fact, how tall is the Empire State Building? Typed it into Spotlight. As opposed to saying it, you'll get a web answer. Show my phone, if you would. You get a web answer. The total height of the Empire State Building, 1,454 feet tall. And then this is the new thing, the Siri knowledge card, which gives you the answer. And then even if you go to the website, it'll highlight, supposedly, we'll see, it'll highlight the answer, maybe not, that they got this information from. So presumably this, let me just try it. Let me just see. Let me start Siri. How do you start Siri again? Press and hold, right?
For a second.
Yeah, oh, wait a minute. Never mind. I got to start over. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry too. How tall is the Empire State Building?
The Empire State Building is 1,250 feet tall.
So it is answering in voice, and it's giving me this new knowledge card, which is great with that information in it. So I think that's nice. So maybe it is coming to Siri. I just want to be clear. This is a Spotlight feature.
Because it's really doing kind of the same thing it was doing before. It's actually answering the question. And then instead of saying, here's some results I found on the internet. So it's not, it's not smarter than it was before. It's just using knowledge it has to get that answer more specifically in your face.
So in this case, I said, who was the first man on the moon? And Siri didn't speak it, but did say, here's what I found, and put up this knowledge card. Instead of that awful answer, here's a few things I found on the web. That was really the answer we're getting rid of. This is a lot better. So that's good. Mm-hmm. That's good. So maybe, Siri is getting better, but I do think that if Apple throws away this whole process of grading Siri responses with humans, it does take a human to do that. Unless Apple, at the next WWDC, they may announce, we've come up with an amazing machine learning way to improve Siri's answers without human intervention. Maybe that's what they're working on.
Well, they have reorganized that entire, everything is now under Gianandrea.
Right. And he came from Google.
Left Craig and has gone to Eddie, but yeah.
He came from Google AI. Yeah.
He believes firmly in ethical AI, and he thinks Apple's a really good place to do it. So now all he has to do is do it.
Yeah. That's the problem, isn't it?
I think this thing that struck me the most about that specific story was the human element to it. We're all talking about, oh no, there's a bunch of people listening to our stuff, but really a bunch of people just lost their jobs.
Yeah.
And I know it's contract work, but it does kind of make you go, oh yeah, they probably kind of expected to have this contracting job for a really long time, and it just pulled out from under them. And things happen, but that's a bummer. I hope they can find a replacement job, or maybe even this comes back in a different format so that, they keep working, they keep having that job they wanted or something.
Sounds like kind of a grueling job.
Yeah. Yeah. Just listening to people talk all day long.
To a minute.
None of the contract jobs are good. Even Apple Maps, Amazon, I wish Silicon Valley would just stop doing that and bring people in-house.
Yeah, to say nothing of all the content moderators that have to watch horrifying videos.
That's the worst job.
Day in and day out, and they're not getting, without any job security, without the right kind of pay, and suffering injuries that kind of require PTSD treatment afterwards. So I really think that I hope that there's going to be a time 20 or 30 years from now when we look back on how tech companies, big companies, including Apple, used to hire people to be disposable and kind of automated machines, and it was kind of okay. That's just terrible.
Yeah.